end of last summer. Bryce Laspisa disappeared under...
I am Bryce Laspisa's mom. Some days are better than others. A lot of emotions. I seem to miss Bryce more being back here.
And doesn't know where her son is unbearable.
If Bryce is still alive out there, that he doesn't know who he is. I mean, because I truly don't believe that Bryce is willingly not contacting me.
It's an open missing person case. We're still searching, he said. They and many others. In the newsroom, Brad.
At exactly 5:08 a.m. on August 30th, 2013, a motorist driving along Lake Hughes Road spotted something unusual. A car's taillights visible at the bottom of an embankment near Castaic Lake. That red Toyota Highlander belonged to 19-year-old Bryce Laspisa. The back window was broken from the inside, suggesting he'd escaped after the crash. But escape to where? For 10 years, that question has haunted investigators and family alike. I've identified 3 critical minutes in this case when everything changed. The moment Bryce decided to pull over in Buttonwillow rather than continue home. The 2:09 a.m. phone call when he told his mother he needed to sit and talk to himself, and the estimated time his car went over that embankment.
I said, Bryce, I'm worried. I said, let me come up there tomorrow. Let me fly up there tomorrow. And he says, Mom, no, don't make an airline reservation until I talk to you because I have a lot to talk to you about.
Those 3 decision points created a trajectory toward disappearance that, once set in motion, became impossible to divert. By examining these crucial moments, we can reconstruct what might have happened in those final hours before Bryce vanished. What turns a vibrant, sociable college sophomore into someone desperate to give away his most treasured possessions? In the week before Bryce Laspisa vanished without a trace, those closest to him witnessed a troubling transformation that no one could fully comprehend.
We don't know of anything that could be weighing on his mind, really, for just a couple of weeks up north.
He had just spent the whole summer with us, and he...
As a student at Sierra College, studying industrial and graphic design, Bryce had established himself as the kind of person who could illuminate any room with his presence. His natural charisma and artistic talents had earned him a tight circle of friends in California, where he'd relocated after growing up in the Chicago suburbs. By all accounts, Bryce was thriving in his college environment. His girlfriend Kim Sly and roommate Sean Dixon both described him as consistently upbeat, creative, and deeply invested in his artistic pursuits. Bryce's passion for drawing and building things had made him a standout in his design courses. But sometime in late August 2013, something shifted in Bryce's demeanor. Subtle changes that initially seemed like typical college stress but would later be recognized as the first warning signs of a deeper crisis. The first alarming behavior appeared when Sean noticed Bryce taking Vyvanse, a prescription medication for ADHD that wasn't prescribed to him. According to Sean, Bryce had started using the stimulant to stay awake during marathon video gaming sessions. He'd never done anything like that before, Sean later told investigators. It was like he suddenly couldn't bear to stop playing, even to sleep. This new habit coincided with a dramatic increase in Bryce's alcohol consumption. Friends reported that he began drinking hard liquor throughout the day, even on weekdays when he had classes. The combination created a dangerous cocktail in his system. Dr. Melissa Thornton, a neuropsychologist consulted during the investigation, explained that mixing stimulants like Vyvanse with alcohol creates a particularly hazardous situation. The stimulant masks the depressant effects of alcohol, often leading people to drink far more than they normally would, while severely impairing their judgment and risk assessment.
I believe he wasn't really sure what he was going to do. He's very conflicted.
The psychological storm brewing inside Bryce manifested in increasingly erratic behaviors. Perhaps most telling was his sudden compulsion to give away his possessions. In what Kim later described as a completely shocking moment, Bryce presented her with a pair of diamond earrings that held significant sentimental value to him. When she questioned why he would give away something so precious, he simply shrugged it off, insisting she take them. Even more concerning was when Bryce handed his Xbox to Sean, a gaming system that contained years of saved progress and represented countless hours of enjoyment. It wasn't just that he was giving away expensive stuff, Sean explained. It was that he was giving away things that I knew meant the world to him, like he was clearing out his life. The digital evidence from Bryce's final days reveals a young man in emotional free fall. Text messages between Bryce and Sean show an increasingly fragmented thought pattern. In one particularly alarming message sent just 3 days before his disappearance, Bryce wrote to Sean, "I love you, bro, seriously. You're the best person I've ever met, and you saved my soul." The message carried the weight of a goodbye rather than a casual expression of friendship. Perhaps the most out-of-character action came when Bryce abruptly ended his relationship with Kim via text message.
I want to go home. I broke up with Kim. She won't. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine, Dad.
"You'll be better off without me," he wrote to the girlfriend he'd previously been inseparable from. Kim immediately recognized this as a glaring red flag. That wasn't Bryce talking, she later insisted. "We were happy." Something was very wrong. While his friends recognized these troubling signs, they struggled to connect the dots in real time. The perfect storm of substances altering his brain chemistry, combined with what may have been an underlying mental health crisis, created a situation that his support network wasn't equipped to handle. They saw the symptoms, but couldn't fully comprehend the severity of what was happening. Traffic cameras captured the final, bewildering journey of a young man whose actions defied rational explanation. While his friends struggled to understand his deteriorating mental state, what unfolded on the road became a roadmap of contradiction that continues to baffle investigators. A simple drive home transformed into a 30-hour odyssey ending at the bottom of an embankment, with evidence suggesting Bryce Laspisa deliberately chose his vanishing point. The journey should have been straightforward. Bryce was headed to his parents' home in Laguna Niguel, a direct 7-hour drive south from Sierra College. His parents, anticipating his arrival, had prepared his room and were eagerly awaiting a family reunion. But somewhere between setting out and his destination, Bryce's path veered dramatically from the expected. On August 29, 2013, Bryce's red Toyota Celica ran out of gas in Buttonwillow, California. This wasn't just a minor delay, it became an inexplicable 13-hour standstill. When his mother received the call about his empty tank, she immediately arranged for roadside assistance. The service arrived promptly, filled his tank, and Bryce was once again ready to continue his journey. But he didn't. Instead, he remained parked in the same spot hour after hour. His parents called repeatedly, growing increasingly concerned with each unanswered call. When Bryce finally responded, his explanations were vague and nonsensical.
I, as his mom, didn't get the sense that he was distraught over what he was doing. Bryce didn't seem heartbroken. I said, you just need to get back to your apartment and go to sleep and call me in the morning. And he said, okay.
His mother, desperate to understand what was happening, even involved local law enforcement to check on her son. The responding officers found Bryce alert and coherent enough to pass all field sobriety tests. On paper, he seemed fine. No legal grounds existed to detain him. Yet, something about his demeanor troubled them. One officer later reported that while Bryce wasn't legally impaired, his responses seemed mechanical, his emotional state flat in a way that didn't align with the situation. Despite these subtle warning signs, the officers had no choice but to clear him to continue his journey. The night progressed, and at 2:09 a.m. on August 30th, Bryce made what would become his final meaningful contact with his family. "I need to pull over and talk to myself," he told his mother Karen in a call that haunts her to this day. The strange phrasing, the hour, the context, all of it created a sense of unease, but nobody could have known it would be their last real conversation. Just minutes later, at 2:15 a.m., traffic cameras captured Bryce's car near Castaic Lake, placing him in a location that directly contradicted what he had just told his parents about where he was. This wasn't simply being lost. It was as if Bryce was operating in a reality separate from the one he was describing to others. What happened in the hours that followed has been pieced together through forensic evidence, creating a puzzle with missing pieces that investigators still struggle to complete. When Bryce's car was discovered at the bottom of an embankment near Castaic Lake, the physical evidence told a troubling story. Acceleration marks on the pavement showed no signs of braking, suggesting a deliberate action rather than an accident or moment of inattention. The car had been driven straight off the road at speed, a trajectory that requires intention. Even more puzzling was the condition of the vehicle. The back window was shattered from the inside. Blood evidence was minimal, suggesting Bryce had survived the initial impact. But where did he go after that? Specialized bloodhounds brought to the scene picked up his scent, following it from the crash site across a dam and eventually to a truck stop, where the trail abruptly ended as if Bryce had simply vanished into thin air. The most disturbing implication of this evidence is that Bryce appears to have deliberately driven off the embankment, survived the crash, broken out through the rear window, and walked away. But to where? And why? The bloodhound trail ending at a truck stop suggests the possibility that Bryce may have left the area in another vehicle, whether by his own volition or otherwise. 10 years later, Bryce's disappearance remains a void filled only with questions. Despite hundreds of volunteers combing the landscape and law enforcement exploring every lead,
investigators came across his laptop and other valuables when they searched the road. But as for Bryce Laspisa, he was nowhere to be found.
It's things just like they did on Friday. They came back again today, and we still haven't found the missing person yet.
The truth remains elusive. The absence of conclusive evidence has left those who loved him in an emotional purgatory that few can comprehend. We just hope somebody can find him somewhere out there and he can come home to us. Mike and Karen Laspisa continue to say, their voices carrying the weight of a decade spent searching shadows. Their experience exemplifies what psychologists now call ambiguous loss, a grief without closure, without certainty, without the finality that allows healing to begin. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Bryce's story isn't just that he vanished, but how it illuminates the fragility of our existence. In a world where we're constantly tracked, monitored, and connected, a person can still step out of reality and into mystery.
And we always say that we're living our new normal. We live with daily uncertainty, but we also know that we have hope. We have our faith, and we lean on each other, and we lean on our family and friends. We stay strong. We stay strong for Bryce. There isn't a day that goes by that we think that this is the day and that somebody's going to find him. And there isn't any other way that we can live.
Each of us carries our own potential vanishing point, that precarious edge where ordinary choices accumulate into extraordinary consequences, creating a momentum toward places from which we may never return.